Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TV Enthusiast discussion of Game of Thrones. I am your host and editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast, Tyson Gifford, and joining me today, as always, is our keeper of comics here at TV Enthusiast, Will Rowerig.
Hello.
So today, we are going to be talking about episode 9 of season 6 of Game of Thrones, entitled Battle of the Bastards. And we will be talking about this episode thoroughly. So if you haven't seen it, beware of spoilers aplenty. We'll be basically breaking down the entirety of the episode. But yeah, let's get started. Let's start off in Meereen because, you know, this was the smaller part of what happened this week. We always start on the smaller side and then move on to the bigger part. And you know, not much going on in Meereen at all, right?
Not much going on. Just dragons. Just
dragons and thousands of Dothrakis.
Thousands of Dothrakis. This was cool. This is a cool way to start off the episode. Because, you know, you have, like, the slave masters, like, such idiots. They're like, oh, we got you now. It's like, really? Oh, look, dragons. Did you forget those existed?
I just liked it at the beginning of the episode with them, they're being bombarded and Tyrion's like, well, everything's okay, I guess, right?
Yeah. Definitely not. Tyrion's awesome. It's like Daenerys comes out and like they're asking her to like leave the city, like, we got you. And it's like, well, she has the entire Dothraki army. She has 3 dragons. She has the Unsullied. Yep, you got her. Totally.
She's doomed.
Backed into a corner. He's some grade A idiots. They're like asking her to like leave Meereen, and then they're telling her they're going to just kill her dragons.
Yeah, and take the Unsullied, and yeah,
like he's like no, and then you just watch the tide turn. I love that scene where it showed like the Sons of the Harpy like murdering like all these people, and then all of a sudden they look and you hear like, oh, it's all the Dothraki.
Just like a huge swarm of them, yeah.
A huge swarm of Dothraki. You're like, oh shit.
I love how it pulls in on the guy and just cuts off his head and his head goes flying past the screen. It's
like... I love that. I love when Daenerys gets on her dragon and he starts like blowing ships up with dragon fire. I'm like, oh my god. Such an awesome way to like...
I'm like, no, don't burn the ships.
I know, right? No, don't burn the ship.
Just burn one ship really easily and then go to the yards and say, okay, time to surrender, right?
And then after all that done, we cut to Theon and Yara Greyjoy, who are suddenly in the period talking to like... It's a bit odd, actually, because like... I don't think this is like... this has ever happened in like Game of Thrones where it just like cuts to another scene and all of a sudden something's happened without like some sort of obvious transition. Like the last episode, we knew they were like on their way, like they were close to Meereen, but it's literally like they show like the battle happening with like, you know, like,
well, it's been like 2 episodes since we saw them on their way to Meereen.
Oh yeah,
and they were in Volantis, which is pretty close.
They're in Volantis, but just like it, like suddenly it cuts to they're talking to Daenerys. You know, it's kind of like, oh, they're there already.
It would have been so much cooler if they had come in the battle.
Yeah,
and been part of it.
Yeah, been part of it. I'm guessing that didn't happen. I'm guessing that like the reason like the awkwardness here exists is probably A, budget, B, time. You know?
Yeah, so I mean, the episode was already like a spectacular budget.
yeah, you could tell they spent like a fortune on this. It's insane.
But yeah, so Theon and Yara are talking to Tyrion and Daenerys about their plans, and I like that they're like really open about it. Like they fully disclose that, Euron's going to come and offer you even more, but you're not going to want it because it also comes with his cock. He wants to take the Seven Kingdoms, and he just kind of sees you as a tool along the way to do it. So instead, join us. We still have significant forces, maybe not as much as him, but then, you can help us kill him. And then we'll take over the Iron Islands and we'll help you with Westeros. And Daenerys is like, okay, but no more reaving, no more raping, no more raiding.
Yep, no more.
The three R's. The three R's of the Ironborn.
Yara successfully appeals to how similar she and Daenerys is. When she declares she's going to be queen, Daenerys like emotes surprise. She asks Theon directly, "Well, what about you?"
They asked that first, you want us to make you king of the Iron Islands, and he says, "No, I want you to put her." And they say, "Well, why don't you want it?" And he said, "I'm unfit to lead."
I'm unfit to lead, and she's like, and Daenerys is like, "I agree."
Oh, no, that was Tyrion. Tyrion's like, "Well, we agree on that."
Oh yeah, that was Tyrion. Tyrion's like, we agree on that. Yeah.
I think Tyrion would have much more sympathy for Theon because Tyrion has a lot of sympathy for the injured and people that have been tortured and stuff. So if Theon if they said, "Why should we believe that you've turned a new leaf?" and he just dropped trow.
Yeah. Tyrion doesn't have much sympathy for Theon because of how much of a total dick Theon was before he got captured by Ramsay.
Theon paid his price.
Yeah.
He also kind of bonded over the fact that they have horrible fathers. Everyone there in that room had horrible fathers because Tyrion had Tywin, Daenerys had the Mad King, and Theon and Yara had Balin. Yeah. They're all horrible fathers, and the idea of we're not going to be our fathers, we're going to leave that behind, and that's what leads to the whole no reaving, raping, and raiding. The three R's. None of the three R's of the Ironborn. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the scenes in Meereen. Tyrion was great through and through. I've heard some people kind of reacting badly to the whole scene where Tyrion was talking to Daenerys and she was talking about burning down all the slaver cities, and he related that to what happened with the Mad King deciding to burn down King's Landing, which didn't happen, but he was planning to do it before Jaime killed him. Yeah, and making that a point, if you don't want to be like your father, then you can't do that. It's pretty much the same thing. And offering an alternative route, and then people said, "Oh yeah, well the alternative route is still burning down a bunch of people." It's well, yeah, but you have to remember, she wasn't talking about this one battle. She was talking about visiting each of those slaver cities and burning them to the ground. That's everybody in them. Tyrion's idea was basically, let's burn down the ships and the forces that are coming at us here, and then that's it. We'll leave one master alive and he'll go back to tell the story.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like that part too. Yep, that was pretty cool. It was funny because they were like, "Oh, kill him. He's lowborn. He's not really one of us." It's "Oh, so you're telling me to kill you? Interesting." That's pretty.
Well, that was cool. It's cool that Grey Worm basically did one slash and took out the throats of both of the other two.
Both of them, yeah, because he's awesome like that, of course. It's I love that part. It's
so I mean, that's pretty much it in Meereen. So that was a very inactive plot. Let's move on to something a little bit more eventful, and this is right outside of and within Winterfell.
Yep.
So let's start this off right from where it started. Jon, Sansa, Tormund Giantsbane, Davos, and Lady Mormont all show up to the battlefield. I love Lady Mormont's like glower face. She's just like,
yeah, I know, right? Her glower face.
They kind of parlay with Ramsay and his forces. Ramsay is like, "Oh, thank you for bringing back my wife," and Jon's like, "No, that's not what's going to happen here."
Yeah, pretty much.
Jon says, "Why don't we settle this without all of the fatalities? We can do it in one-on-one combat." And Ramsay is like, "I've heard stories about you, and whether they're true or not, I don't know if I can beat you one-on-one, but I know that my army can beat your army, so why would I do that?" Jon throws in the snide comment like, "Well, are your men going to really want to follow you if you're not willing to fight for them?" And Ramsay says, "Well, are you going to let your brother Rickon die?" And throws them the head of Shaggy Dog as like proof that they have Rickon. After that parlay, Sansa's like basically tells Ramsay he's going to die that night. She says, "Tomorrow you'll die. Sleep well."
Yeah.
And they go back, and then you see kind of the generals, so to speak, on Jon's side, all kind of talking about what's going on. It was funny watching Jon trying to explain a pincher attack to Tormund.
Yeah, that was funny. Jon and Sansa get into like an argument. It's kind of a dumb argument because Sansa's like, "Oh, like Ramsay's gonna mind fuck you," and Jon's like, "Yeah, well, what do you want me to do?" And then Sansa's like, "I don't know." It's like, "Well, you don't know. Why are you arguing? Stop it."
Basically, what you're telling him was like, he's going to do something to try to get you to do something.
Right.
And don't do that thing that he wants you to do. Because the thing he wants you to do is what he's going to lure you into something. And Jon's like, "Well, I kind of realize that that's the case. But, what am I going to do? Like, there's nothing." And Sansa also basically says at that point, like, "We're not getting Rickon back. He's dying. Like, there's just no way around it. He's the biggest threat to Ramsay of all of them. Because he's like a Stark male, a legitimate heir Stark male. So as long as he's alive, Ramsay's position isn't secured. So he's going to die, period. That's it."
Right.
We get to the battlefield, to the actual battlefield. Jon had told beforehand at the meeting, Jon had said that the whole one-on-one challenge was just to get Ramsay angry.
Yeah.
Basically, they're trying to force Ramsay to attack them, and then that would basically, they have trenches cut that's going to narrow their use of horses and stuff. That's kind of like the main purpose, is they want to stop them. The Ramsays have horses, and mounted knights have a huge advantage over unmounted knights.
Right, exactly.
And so they're trying to kind of rid that advantage, which is basically Tormund. That's what Tormund fears, because that's how the wildlings were just laid waste to by Stannis' forces.
Right, because Stannis had like mounted knights and yep.
So basically they're on the battlefield now. Ramsay starts things out by releasing Rickon. What a generous guy.
I know, right? He's one of the nicest guys.
Cuts his balance, tells him, "Run back to your brother, Rickon."
Yep.
Give him a big hug.
Because Ramsay is such a nice guy. He's like the nicest guy in Westeros, that Ramsay. Nothing bad will possibly happen here.
Ramsay says, "Do you like to play games, little man?" And he began shooting arrows kind of poorly at Rickon. Of course, we know from before that Ramsay's actually a really good shot with an arrow. Like, we've seen this before when he was like hunting people, he knows how to shoot. So he's kind of this is like him setting the stage. he's making this risky moment. Jon's like, well, fuck, like, if he was going to kill Ramsay, then that would make me mad, but I wouldn't be put in a disadvantageous situation. But he's, like, shooting actively at Rickon as he's running to me. There's a chance I can save him. So Jon's riding out as fast as he can to try to save Rickon. Rickon's running towards Jon. Ramsay seems to be just missing him left and right.
Yeah, but like Ramsay's
just, from each other.
Ramsay's just playing though, because like they cut the like every every time like Ramsay fires an arrow and it misses, he's like kind of aiming the bow upwards, and then it cuts to Ramsay. Like towards the end, it cuts to Ramsay. He's aiming the board straight, the arrow like straight, and that's the one that hits Rickon right in the heart.
Yeah.
So
we know Ramsay's a really good shot.
We know that before. Yeah, so all the times that he misses, that's Ramsay's just playing.
It's part of the theater.
It's part of the theater. Yeah, he's just being sadistic, making him think. Like making it get to like the last possible moment before he finally like kills Rickon right in front of Jon.
What does Ramsay's little play does? Well, for one thing, it separates Jon from the rest of his forces.
Yeah, because Jon.
Another thing is it's by doing it right at the last moment, right in front of him, by making Jon feel like he failed at the last second to save Rickon, he angers Jon in the same way Jon had intended to anger him.
Yeah, exactly. And Jon rushes into Ramsay's army, pretty foolishly too, to the point where I like honestly believed, I thought, oh, they're gonna kill off Jon now? It's
and
like
before that, the whole thing where Jon was telling Melisandre not to bring him back if he died.
Yeah.
And Melisandre saying, no, fuck you, I don't take orders from you. I'll try to resurrect you, and if you don't come back to life, then the Lord of Light didn't want you back.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But she said something ominous too, like before that she said, well, maybe the Lord of Light, brought you back just so you could be there for that moment, and then you die again. Or maybe you're meant to just die again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay. So he rushes out there. He's got this whole army coming towards him, and I'm like, he's dead, right? He's gotta be dead. It's like the most amazing, like the way it's shot too. It's the most amazing scene because the army like comes towards him, and then against all odds, he ends up in the middle of the fray, unscathed. And then it's just like we see like Jon trying to wade through like this army of soldiers, and people are coming up at him, and he's like stabbing fools left and right, trying to make his way through this massive army by himself, basically.
He's just being a badass warrior.
Yeah, he's just being a badass
in the middle
warrior.
Because Jon's men come rushing out, which of course is exactly what Ramsay wanted, because that put that destroyed Jon's plan of making Ramsay charge him. They just basically they're fighting on Ramsay's battlefield instead of Jon's now.
Right.
Which is exactly what Ramsay wanted. So now they're fighting up there. People are just dropping left and right. You get to see a little parallel between the way like Jon's group thinks and the way Ramsay's group thinks, because the archers take aim and Davos is like, no, we're just going to end up hitting our own people. Right. And then Ramsay's like, go and shoot.
Go and shoot. Like Ramsay doesn't care about hitting his own people. Like
he's kind of counting on it. He wants a mass of bodies. He's basically creating a little mountain of dead bodies.
Yeah.
And this is part of his plan. So he kind of creates this this wall of dead bodies by shooting people and just the people dying there in general. And then Ramsay sends in Little John Umber and his forces, and they go and they're like, who rules the North? We do! And they and they take off. And you don't know exactly where they are going. And then you see the Bolton forces with the shields, the big shields and spears. and they encircle, and it's not a full circle. They're encircling around from the point of the wall of bodies, basically.
Right. Basically, but they got Jon and his forces, including Tormund, trapped. They
shrink the circle, yeah.
Yeah, they start shrinking the circle with their spears outwards, so that each time they move in forward, they run through.
And Jon's forces try to climb over the bodies behind them.
Yeah.
And that's where little Jon Umber and his forces were climbing up on the other side.
Yeah.
So now they're like trapped. They're trapped between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. They're like, and it's a shrinking circle. This is straight up Roman strategy. This is like exactly what Roman forces used to do, where they would encircle with shields and then stab.
Yep.
Just stab at, shrink, encircle, stab. That's what they did. So this is exactly what Ramsay's doing. He's being very Roman. They're encircling, they're stabbing. It is not going well for Jon's forces. Their entire strategy just flew out the window. 1-1's pretty much completely ineffective because the long spears, like he can't get close enough. And he doesn't really have another weapon, so he's just kind of like trying to. Occasionally he'll like grab a spear and yank a soldier out and rip him in half or something.
1-1 was awesome. Yeah, I know, right?
That doesn't last long. Somebody else just picks up the spear and dives forward, and the wall doesn't break. Yeah,
the wall doesn't break, so they're pretty much trapped. Right?
They're screwed. Jon gets trampled.
Jon gets
a crazy
trampled.
scene.
That was a crazy scene. That was like, yeah, he gets trampled. He's like, he ends up buried under this massive bodies, and then you see
both
him
living and dead. Yeah, I mean, it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's just a mess. It's just it's Walmart on Black Friday. And it's,
he basically has to like crawl up through the bodies to like surface so he can breathe.
Right.
And when you see him breathing, you see it's just like as if it looks like you mentioned Walmart on Black Friday. To me, it looks like if you've ever seen those videos of like how they pack in the subway trains in Japan, and they like push the people into the doors, and it's just like they're just like wall to wall, like no room to even move at all. They're just packed in. That's what it looks like. Jon's forces are packed in to this just dense circle. Like they can't even fight because they can't swing their swords because they can't move, and they're basically being speared. And there's, little bits of fighting is basically all they can do. One of the prime examples we get of that is little Jon Umber and Tormund Giantsbane start fighting. Didn't you notice like the weird parallel between the two of them? They basically made it look like, yeah, they both basically look the same.
Yeah, I know, right? The weird parallel, like naturally they're rivals,
It's like they could be brothers.
Them and their beards.
Big beards, like
Tormund fighting, it's like, okay.
Little Jon is just kicking Tormund's ass.
Yeah, he is.
He's just ruthlessly beating him. But then we hear the sound of a horn. Everyone's kind of attention falters a little bit. Tormund takes advantage and starts fighting like a wildling.
Yeah, pretty much. I think he bites off Little Jon's nose or something.
It's his ear, yeah.
Oh yeah, his ear. Okay, so he goes like full on Mike Tyson. I knew he bit off something. Yeah. But I don't think I was able to make it out when I watched the episode, so.
He bit off his ear, and then I think he just started stabbing him in the face or something.
Yeah, he started stabbing him in the face. It's just brutal. Ugh.
Yeah. It's just this is not, typical warfare with swords. This is brutal survival. And that's it. It turned to that point, and then that's where Tormund's strength was, and brutal survival. Because that's the conditions he's fought in. He hasn't fought in these organized wars. He's fought in these desperate attempts for survival.
Right, and, exactly.
So that's where he has an advantage. He kills Little Jon. But the real advantage isn't that at all, because they still would have been routed and killed. They were screwed in the situation they're in. The real advantage was the horn that was blowing. There comes House Aaron.
Yep.
From the Vale. We see Littlefinger now sitting next to Sansa. A lot of people have been kind of questioning, why didn't Sansa inform Jon that she made some deal with Littlefinger? I think in part the way I see it, I don't know about you, is that she sent off her basic request for him to aid her like last minute. Yeah, I don't think he ever got back to her.
I think
this was him getting back to her. So I don't know.
I don't know if Sansa was sure he was coming. It's like kind of, like you send somebody a message and you're like, okay, well, I hope they get back to me. And, you're kind of stuck until they get back to you. And I think it was just that situation where I don't think she heard back from him until like he showed up.
Mm-hmm. There's different ways you can interpret it. Maybe she did hear back from him. Maybe they did hash it out. Maybe that was, and if that's the case, then maybe it just shows she had no confidence in Jon.
But see, if she heard back from him, if she knew that he was coming, like at the beginning of the episode, her argument with Jon was like made no sense.
Yeah.
It would have been like, okay, well, why are you worried? No.
Unless she just doesn't trust Jon to do his job, which is, right. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there. I know I watched it with my sister and she was like, so Sansa betrayed Jon. And I'm like, I don't know necessarily if that's the case. I don't really think that is. I think that there is a little bit of distrust where Sansa doesn't necessarily trust Jon to do the right thing. Not like the right thing isn't like the morally right thing, but isn't like the smart choice.
Right.
I think there might be some of that, but basically Peter Baelish shows up, the Knights show up, they basically destroy the Bolton shield line.
Yeah,
that was kind of beautiful to watch. And just like on horseback, just riding through and just trampling them.
Yeah, just trampling. It's kind of beautiful to watch. At that point, once the Knights of the Vale show up, Littlefinger like shows up with Sansa. Ramsay is done. It's over for Ramsay. The tide had just turned in Jon Snow's favor, and so Ramsay
he turns back to Winterfell.
Yeah, he turns back to Winterfell. He tries to hole himself up in the castle and prepare for a siege.
So his idea is that Jon doesn't have enough forces to mount a successful siege anymore because so much of their forces have been wiped out. And Ramsay's forces have too. But in a siege, the people who need the most forces are the ones doing the siege, not the ones defending.
Yeah.
So Ramsay is, rightfully thinks he's at an advantageous situation. Of course, he forgot about one thing.
Yeah, of course he would have been in an advantageous situation if, they didn't have a giant who could just punch holes through the gate.
Which was a truly badass scene because the second he's like, well, no, we can block it off. He doesn't have enough forces for a siege, and we're like, yeah, we remember 1-1 knocking down the wall, knocking down the gate at Castle Black. For the wildlings, we've seen this before. We know what's coming.
And sure enough, 1-1 makes short work out of the gate, and making a siege not necessary.
In the process, he ends up looking a bit like a porcupine.
Yeah,
arrows just sticking out of him, and he's in a position where he's on his last legs.
Unfortunately, this is 1-1's last hurrah. He goes out like a champ, though. But
the thing is, he's covered in arrows. He's down on his knees. He's still alive, though. There's still a chance, that his war effort's done. He's out for the fight, but there's still a chance maybe they could help him. But zoop, arrow right through the eye. Ramsay showing, he does know how to shoot an arrow again.
Yeah, Ramsay finishes 1-1 off. And then Ramsay, the coward he is, knowing that there's no siege happening, he's just done. Knowing that he's just done at this point, it's like, how about I take you up on that 1-on-1?
It's, of course, he's in an advantageous situation because Jon's there with just a sword, and he's at a distance with a bow and arrow. And that's his 1-on-1. He's going to start shooting arrows at Jon. Jon, of course, quickly adapts drops his sword and goes for a large shield instead. There's a shield on the ground, grabs it.
Jon just like badass. He just grabs a shield, and every arrow Ramsay shoots, he blocks with his shield until he's close enough to Ramsay to start punching him in the face.
And he's just brutalizing Ramsay. I mean, just like about on the verge of beating him to death.
So here's something that seems inconsistent, because Jon is brutally punching Ramsay. You know, he's on the verge of killing him himself with his own two bare hands until he looks over at Sansa, and Sansa appears horrified at what Jon's doing, which causes Jon to stop what he's doing.
See, there's lots of different reads on that. So one could say that it's because it's at Sansa. This is Sansa's. Or she owns Ramsay. This is her kill, and Jon's like going to take it from her. So there's that side. That's one way you can look at it. Another way is
like she's like disappointed in Jon in like some way, you know.
I that can read in so many different ways. It could also read as pure manipulation on her part.
Yeah.
Like she's trying to get Jon to stop so that she can have the satisfaction of taking him out, because that's what she wants.
Yeah, because that's what she wants.
Or it could read that, you know, maybe she didn't want to see Jon become like that. You know, she didn't want to see Jon murder somebody in a way that's just brutal like that versus just killing, which is what Jon would have done before. Jon wasn't about brutality. He was just about what's necessary, you know?
Right.
So there's lots of ways you can read that. I kind of read it as Sansa was kind of like inwardly thinking, no, that's my kill, you know? And Jon saw that and maybe read it as like, what are you doing? And so he stopped.
Right.
I don't know if he stopped thinking, you know, yeah, I have to give this kill to Sansa, or if he stopped thinking, oh, Sansa thinks I'm becoming a monster, I have to stop. I don't know what his thought was, but I think her thought was, don't take my kill, bro.
Don't take my kill, bro. Yeah, no, right?
So they're all celebrating that everything that they won the war. You see the banners fall down, which is real satisfying, because even on the map, when you watch the episodes of Game of Thrones, it's had like the flayed man over Winterfell for like the past couple seasons, you know? So it's really just kind of satisfying seeing the Bolton banners on the ground and seeing the Stark banners being dropped from the wall, you know? There's something really satisfying about that. So that was kind of cool. And then you see Davos looking at Melisandre. Now, to give a little context, earlier in the episode, basically they were at the same spot that Stannis was at when they were plotting their war siege on Winterfell. Davos finds the funeral pyre, basically where Shireen was burned to death. And he knows the way the Red Witch works, and he finds the little toy that he had made for Shireen, the stag. So now he knows what happened. Because Shireen disappeared, nobody's talking about it. He thinks she's either taken prisoner or killed in the war. That's what Davos thinks. Well, now he sees, oh, this is one of Melisandre's like torch humans alive pits. And I just found a toy in the pit that I had given Shireen.
Right.
So that means that Melisandre murdered Shireen. So now you get this shot of like, you know, Melisandre is watching as the banners fall with a sense of satisfaction and a slight smile on her face. And that's because this is what she saw in her vision, and now it came true.
Yep, and now it came true. Seeing the Stark banners come down on Winterfell for the first time, you know, in forever was like a very satisfying moment. It was like,
yeah, and for her, it basically like, you know, Jon coming back was a huge part in her getting faith again. But that shows that it's not just that she got back with her God, but that she had just misinterpreted the message and that it was there for her all along. Yeah. And so there's this really strong moment for her where she's looking kind of happy about that. But then you see, while she's watching the banner, somebody's watching her, and that's Davos. And he has murder all over his face.
I don't think Davos has murder all over his face. Come on.
Davos knows what's up.
I don't think Davos. I know like I just like Davos is like an honorable man.
Yeah, when I say murder all over his face, I don't mean he's gonna like sneak attack and kill her or something. I mean like he's like, the war's done. They've done the war now. Now, because that's where I think Davos is honorable, because Davos figured out what happened with Melisandre before the war started.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, war's over now. Look of murder on his face towards Melisandre. Now I have another thing to settle.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be a conversation.
In the very least, there's going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
Because Davos is not happy with Melisandre, nor should he be. So he's got his position right there. And then we go to the final scene of the episode. I'll let you say what you said when you got on the phone call with me that wasn't on here.
Who let the dogs out?
So basically, Sansa goes, she talks to Ramsay in his cell. Ramsay's pretty much defeated, but there's still that side of him where he thinks like, I might have a way out of this. I'm being kept as a prisoner. I'm valuable as a prisoner. Sansa doesn't have it in her to kill me herself, like Jon's not going to kill me because he already didn't. So he kind of still feels like he might have some path towards something he can get away with. And they're obviously nobody there is like him. So it's not like they're going to cut off his dick or flay him alive or something. That's not the way of these people. And so they're not going to say, he's feeling comfortable in this position in a sense, although defeated. Right. And so he's talking to Sansa. He's like, oh, I guess this is where we part. It's okay. He's like talking all calmly and still acting all arrogant and assy. Sansa releases Ramsay's hounds.
Right.
So she releases the hounds. He sees them. He's like, they won't attack me. I'm their master.
Yeah, he's like, I'm their master. And she's like, well, they haven't eaten in 7 days. You said so yourself. And he said, they're loyal beasts. And then like she says something awesome. She's like, he says they're loyal beasts. And Sansa says, they were loyal. Now they're starving.
Yeah. And so the dogs come up. At first, they're just kind of getting on him, and Ramsay's like, down, and they're not going down. So that's when he's first realizing something's not right.
His face is all bloody, too, covered in blood from the beating he took. And so they're smelling the blood, and, the one dog gets up on his face, licks the blood off his face, kind of like getting a taste, getting that ravenous, that just makes them ravenous. They're already starving. So the smell of blood, that presence, that just makes them ravenous, and then they just get right into...
Yeah, a dog starts on his face. It looks like he just bit off his lower jaw or something.
Yeah, it just starts on his face. Looks like, yeah, exactly.
And then we just cut away, and you just kind of see his hands, like, trembling and blood pouring down over him, and yeah, he's being devoured by his hounds. And Sansa walks away, and we see a little smirk enter her face.
Yep, she's pretty satisfied with the awful, brutal act of murder she just committed.
So I gotta say, the one thing I was thinking throughout this whole episode, through this whole battle scene, where the hell is Ghost? He's like the last living direwolf.
Exactly, they couldn't take him to a battle.
It's just him and Nymeria. But not even that, but like, where is he? Like, I totally thought he'd come into play with Ramsay's end, because Ramsay feeds his people to his hounds. Maybe they were going to feed him the Ghost, or,
I'm glad they didn't do that.
I had this idea right when his hounds were released, that the thing that was going to turn the tide and make his hounds completely go after him was that the hounds had a new alpha in Ghost.
Right.
Ghost had become their new alpha, and the Ghost was going to go there too, and maybe not even necessarily eat Ramsay, but basically go in there to basically tell the hounds, there's your meal. And I was thinking like, oh, maybe they'll do that. But that's like probably my biggest dissatisfaction this episode. he's not there at all. We didn't see him once in the entire episode. No reference to him, nothing. So it's like, okay, I guess he's just taking a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
But that kind of brings us to an end of like the actual events of the episode. So let's get to my favorite section, pulling threads. And there isn't too terribly much to talk about because these kind of resolved. Like we're always talking about, oh, this is how the pieces are moving for the war in the North and the war in the East. Well, those are both over. But we can talk a little bit about some stuff that's going on. So first off, I mentioned earlier that Tyrion was talking to Daenerys about what her father had planned for King's Landing, to burn it down with wildfire. This is basically bringing back the idea of like, what is it that Cersei's disgraced Maester found? What's the secret he found? And then mentioning this, the fact that the stores of the wildfire was shown in Bran's vision, I think she's going to use wildfire.
I think
and this is a theory that's been going around for a while, but I think they're basically shoving it down our throats now. This is what's going to happen.
Maybe.
It's to the point now where I think I'd be surprised if she doesn't.
Right.
I don't know if she intends to burn down the whole city. Remember, they said there was wildfire underneath, strategically all around the city. The Mad King planned to burn it all down, but it was strategically a place to really take out certain places specifically as well. So I think she might be going after the Sept of Baelor, or, wherever the Sparrows are. Like, that's her target, But that it could get out of control. I mean, for all we know, this could be the end of King's Landing.
Burning down the house. Right.
I think this is what she's going to do. She doesn't have her soldier anymore. We know there's still caches, still supplies of wildfire down there, so there's still that possibility. And what if in doing so, she ends up killing her son, which fulfills the prophecy? That creates a huge vacancy, because now there is no heir left. Cersei can't rule as like queen, it's like that's not how it works. It's the next heir. All of Robert's bastards are thought to be dead. We know, as far as like who is still up for succession, we have the possibility of Jon, because we have all the hints at that and what could be happening with that. And I think in the season finale, we might get like conclusive on that. We either he is or he isn't a Targaryen, Right. And I think we'll find that out. So there's a possibility of Jon having a claim for the throne.
Nope, Jon doesn't have a claim for the throne. Here's interesting. I came up with this, and I'm pretty sure this is the direction where they're going with. So I basically pieced this together. Sansa Stark is now Queen of Winterfell and Queen of the North. Yara Greyjoy will be the Queen of the Iron Islands once she gets back to Westeros with Daenerys. Daenerys has already promised her that once she takes over, Yara will be queen. Daenerys, of course, will be the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. We're moving away from a society that at the beginning of this series was mostly ruled by men, and now we're looking at a society that's now increasingly being taken over by women.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already that case in Dorne, too.
Yeah, it's already the case in Dorne, too. Women have already taken over in Dorne. So, interesting.
I think that's the direct lead, but I'm just talking about who has an actual claim. Like, who could come up as a claim to the throne. And right now, I can only think of 3 characters that we know. Now, Robert probably still has more bastards out there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he has more bastards out there that they weren't able to get. But there's one bastard in particular that we have seen, and that's Gendry. And we haven't seen him in ages.
No, we haven't seen him since season 3, actually.
Yeah, he would have a legitimate claim to the throne. But he's a bastard.
He's a bastard. Jon Snow is a bastard, even if he is a Targaryen.
Yeah, even as a secret Targaryen, he's a... Well, maybe. I mean, unless some evidence can come out that Rhaegar and Lyanna were married.
Right.
And he wouldn't be a bastard. Then he'd be a full-on, like...
But here's the thing. Jon Snow would have zero interest in ruling the Seven Kingdoms, even if he did have a legitimate claim.
And they even referenced in this episode where, like, Tormund and Davos were talking about the men that they supported before, with Tormund supporting Mace and Mance.
Mance.
Davos supporting Stannis, and they said maybe we shouldn't be supporting kings. Maybe that was the problem. And then they said Jon Snow isn't a king.
Yeah, they said Jon Snow is the king. Like
I don't think Jon's going to end up on the throne.
Jon Snow,
but I think he has a claim, and I think that claim might come up.
Yeah, he thinks. See, Jon Snow doesn't want to be a ruler. He doesn't want to be a ruler. But he barely wanted to be leading the Night's Watch. He reluctantly took that role on, and then after he died and came back, he was oh well, screw this. So
I don't think he wants it, but I think he would definitely have a claim. Then there's Gendry, like I said, and then there's Daenerys. Those are like the three I can think of every character we've met on the show. Those are the three that potentially have claims.
Right.
And I think Tommen's going to die in this next episode.
I think Tommen is going to die at some point. Maybe not this next episode, but at some point. Also, you got to admit, there's the real war happening with the Night's King and, the White Walkers. Like we still haven't gotten to, like, the real threat. Like, nobody should be sitting comfy and arguing over claims to the throne at this point when the Night's King and the White Walkers are still out there. It's like...
maybe this is also going to maybe what's going to happen is by Tommen dying, which I think is going to happen, there's no king, there's no heir, there's nobody directly in King's Landing to take that role. If his death is caused by Cersei unleashing wildfire in the kingdom and it burns down the King's Landing, and maybe that's what we saw in Daenerys' vision in season 2, where you saw the wrecked King's Landing. Yeah. I could see that being the case. And if that's the case, well then, where do we move forward with that in general? Now you go past that point, and like you said, the real threat comes into the picture, the White Walkers. At a certain point, everyone's got to work together to fend off them. Once that's over, do you just go, okay, time to rebuild King's Landing? Who has the best claim to the throne? Maybe this is like them stepping away from an imperialistic society in general.
You mentioned the next episode is titled The Winds of Winter. We know the next book is titled The Winds of Winter. We know The Winds of Winter is very heavily,
that's when the Night's King farts. It's called The Winds of Winter.
Yeah, exactly. we know that The Winds of Winter is a very heavy reference towards the Night's King and the White Walkers. That's what the Winds of Winter is, in George R.R. Martin's little narrative. So having the next episode be titled that kind of heavily points towards the White Walkers being a major part of the episode.
I think they're going to be a small but significant part of the episode. Like, I think their actual screen time is going to be very small.
Well, they don't have to have major screen time to be significant or to be a major part of the episode.
That's, I think, what's going to happen. Is I think basically the old world is going to be burnt down at this point. I think King's Landing is going to go up in flames. I think Tommen's going to die. It's going to create all this panic. You have these groups that had been in war. The reason Jon wanted to rush the war so much is because he wants to unify the North to get them ready to fight the White Walkers. I think in the season finale, at the very end, we're going to see the wall come down.
Yeah, because Jon has personally faced the Night's King and the White Walkers, so he knows that the threat is out there and that it's very real and that it's coming.
So I think this next episode is basically all of the squabbling about, kings and seats and all that stuff comes to its end next episode. Because next episode is when everyone's like, oh shit, they are real.
Well, you gotta remember, the series is called A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah. Okay, we know the ice is the Night's King and the White Walkers, and the fire is Daenerys and her dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the crux of the series right there.
So I think that we're entering that arc now. Yeah. So I think what we're seeing now is like all the squabbling, all the shit that's been going on, like, we're going to see the height of that in the next episode. Like, and then it's going to hit a point where it's like, okay, it's fucked. What's going to happen now? And then the White Walkers are going to come. And now it's like, why the fuck have we been paying attention to all this shit?
well, better, if they're talking about like only 12 episodes being left after this season, like the talk they were just saying like earlier, like, oh, well, there's probably like 12 episodes left before we wrap this up. And so if that's true, if that's what they're thinking, then we better be moving towards that like grand finale,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely.
So here's some other things to go over. Do you think we're ever going to see, besides maybe next week, what we might see it next week, do you think we're ever going to see Essos again, the entire continent to the east of Westeros? Because we had just talked about last week, well, I guess that's it for Braavos. We're never going to see Braavos again. But now Daenerys is like ready to go. So I guess that's it for Essos as a whole, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We have to go back to Essos now.
There's no reason to go back to Essos. No, I don't. So I don't think we're going to see Essos again. I don't think we need to. Like, what would be the point?
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's like some narrative reason to go back there. I don't think so, but that's the way things are, like stuff becomes important, then, as events unfold, then some things become less important than they were and they fade into the background.
So we have that. So here's another location. Do you think we're ever going to see Dorne again?
Dorne? No, Dorne's irrelevant. It's like
I kept thinking that they were eventually going to come into play against King's Landing, and that they were going to contribute to kind of like the war in the South. But the more I think about it now, the more I'm like, no, that was just their way of crossing Dorne off. Like, they're like, we don't need to worry about this anymore. It's done.
Yeah.
Let's see. I had some other questions to go over, which was, what's Jon going to do now? He obviously isn't going to sit at the throne of Winterfell. That's going to be Sansa. Jon has no need for that. He already said he was leaving the Night's Watch. He has no reason to go there. What's his purpose now? What's he going to do?
Wait, what's whose purpose?
Jon's.
Jon's purpose is to lead the North against the White Walkers and the Night's King.
But he's not going to go back to the Night's Watch, right? So...
No, he's
like, how is he going to go about that? Is he just going to go south and try to convince people? Is he going to have another thing? Because this brings up another issue, which is we were talking about last week. Where is Varys going? And having rewatched that episode, Varys clearly stated that he needed to make preparations for to get aid for Daenerys, like basically to prepare the houses for Daenerys' return in Westeros.
Well, basically, here's the thing. Jon is preparing for the battle with the White Walkers. He has Winterfell. They have Winterfell again. That is huge. That is significant. He doesn't need to go back to the Night's Watch because lol. He's got Winterfell. There's still houses, in the North loyal to the Starks, loyal to Winterfell. He's gonna rally the North as best as he can. And then, I do believe he's gonna try and rally as many people, even outside the North, as he possibly can against us. That's his main focus now. It's like, well, he's won Winterfell. He knows what's coming, so his main focus is gonna be rallying, uniting. He even said himself, he needs the North united to face this threat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what his main focus is going to be. So he plays a hugely important role in this. I mean, listen, if you think the Lord of Light resurrected Jon Snow, just and Melisandre was being led by these visions this whole time, just for the Starks to retake Winterfell. I think that's a little naive and short-sighted. It's like, I don't think the Lord of Light cares if the Starks have Winterfell or not. It's all serving to like this grand war. Like, Jon Snow is where he is because it plays a huge role in the real battle to come.
Well, there is another side, which is Winterfell could potentially actually be more important than we think. And the reason I say this is because Winterfell itself was built by Bran the Builder, who also built the wall.
Yeah.
So if the wall is this giant magical structure, and Winterfell seems to have all these weird rules that they used to say, like early on, that we haven't heard from recently, like there must always be a Stark in Winterfell.
Yeah.
Which implies like something's going on with that, I don't know. So there could be something that where taking Winterfell back was very important,
Yeah, I think
to like the Lord of Light and his plans for like some kind of a magical reason, because like I said, it was built by Bran the Builder. But like I was saying though, we have Varys kind of in the wind saying he's heading back to Westeros. Daenerys still has no idea about the White Walkers.
No, she doesn't.
Tyrion implicitly trusts Jon, I think. This could be a good opportunity. What if Varys goes and says, "Hey, Jon, come with me we're gonna meet Daenerys on the sea.
Yeah.
She's on her way here. You need to tell her what this threat is that's coming." And then Tyrion would be basically supporting him, saying, "Well, I see no reason why Jon would lie." Because they had their moments in season 1, and you can tell that Tyrion respects them.
Yep, definitely.
Because Tyrion has before said that he respected the former Lord Commander as well. So
right.
I could totally see that being a thing, and making Daenerys more aware of what she's coming home to, the frozen hell she's coming home to. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we might be getting a lot of like really interesting turny kind of events, because basically like we're going into the final arc of the series.
Yeah,
and they need to start establishing stuff, and I think they're going to start doing that in this episode. We're going to get a lot of like, it's not going to be good in the sense of like, wow, we got a lot of payoff. It's not going to be payoff scenes that we're getting next episode. It's going to be like setup scenes, like this is what's going to be happening
for the final arc, yeah.
So in this battle at Winterfell, we didn't get to see Brienne and Podrick either. I'm sure that they got to show up again in the finale. There's nothing really to do war-wise.
No.
I don't know, but maybe there could be some interaction with the other stuff that's going on. I have no idea. We still also have the idea of what's Littlefinger's price going to be. He doesn't do anything for everyone. Even if he loves Sansa, he's not going to like fight this war just because he loves her. He's going to fight it because he loves her, and now she's indebted to him.
Right, exactly.
So what's Littlefinger's price in all of this?
That's a good question.
I mean, as far as control goes, an obvious one for him would be to marry Sansa off to Robin. And that would put Robin in a position of greater power than Sansa, and he basically has Robin around his little finger.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that would give him a huge amount of control if he did that. So there could be that as a possibility. So much stuff. But that's pulling threads. Do you have any other kind of theories or wild speculation you want to dish out?
No, I think that covered everything at the moment.
Okay, so for Ravens, we got kind of a quasi letter. I'm not going to go over the whole thing because it's too long, but I'm just going to go over certain kind of points that were brought up. The idea that Daenerys was able to strike the deal with Yara and Theon to do like no raiding. When Daenerys basically told Dothraki to do the opposite in her speech to them when they were going to go to Westeros. Like, we're going to tear down their houses. We're going to, it's like, yeah, you're kind of leading a group of other people that also kind of raid and rape, and you gave no such ultimatum against them, but you now have given it to this other side here. Do you think that this is going to cause like conflicts or issues later on? Do you think that the Ironborn are going to be able to stick to that kind of a condition?
It's going to be interesting to see them turn, because if they're under Daenerys' rule, Daenerys is, kind of, she's like, you don't want to piss her off, Like, so we'll see. Like, they try, but, I feel like they're very steep penalties for if they failed to live by Daenerys' like commands, because Daenerys has like a very utopian, like this ideal, for she like she says herself that she wants to leave the world a better place than she found it, and that's like ultimately like her goal.
Another point brought up, same poster, he said he was frustrated with how they handled 1-1. Like, they don't give him any armor. They don't give him any weapons. He's basically fighting barehanded. We've seen what giants can do with weapons, like a bow and arrow. Remember the one giant had that massive bow and arrow in that battle where he literally
I don't know why 1-1 didn't have a weapon, but like wildlings don't wear armor. So like why 1-1 wouldn't be wearing armor because
making armor for 1-1 would be kind of hard.
That would be kind of hard. So who's making giant armor? Like, where do you go to buy that?
I agree with that. I do think though,
especially like north of the wall.
It's a good point on the weapons front though, because we saw a giant shoot a bow and arrow all the way up the wall and knock a guy clean off the wall. Was it last season or the season before? So we've already seen a big battle at the wall, and he literally shot an arrow to the very top of the wall.
Right.
So, I mean, and it was like a massive thick arrow. It wasn't like a typical arrow.
I agree. 1-1 could have had a weapon, but
I just think that they wanted to put Jon's forces into a significant disadvantage. And I think if they let 1-1 have his full potential, that wouldn't have been able to happen.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's scary how much potential he has to turn the tides on the battlefield. And I think they were trying to minimize that.
So it's for dramatic reasons.
He says, here's the last part I'll read of his letter. I think I know that what Littlefinger and Sansa are planning, but Sophie Turner's pretty face did nothing to convey a convincing emotion in several scenes during and after the battle, aside from the smirk. And if they aren't planning anything, their involvement here is dumb. I don't think the writing has fallen that far yet. So what do you think about that? Do you think you have an idea of what Littlefinger and Sansa are planning? And do you think that the writing is kind of letting you down if you don't think you have an idea? Do you think that that's a failing of the writing right now?
No, I don't think that's a failing of the writing. Jesus. No, I don't. Come on. No, it's clear that Littlefinger's made it clear, he has this weird ass freaking crush on Sansa, he gave that speech to her, oh, he'll do anything for her, even if she doesn't, want him, it's and it all stems from because he had this weird ass crush on, her mother, he literally, I mean, he literally can be doing this because, he's he's actually the world's biggest simp.
You could say that, but you could also say that he could have a bigger plan beyond that. He could. This could be advantageous to him too. And we've said that before. We were talking earlier that Littlefinger has surely got some kind of a price for everything he just did.
Yeah, I mean,
you just don't know what it is.
There's something going on. I don't know what it is. There's no hints of what it is. He's gonna request something. But so I don't think this is definitely not a failing of the writing. This is there's something more to this. They're not gonna let you down with this thread. Mm-hmm. It'll be revealed. At marginal, at the least. He'll have done it because he'll be fulfilling what he told Sansa. At the very best, it'll be revealed that what he said to Sansa in the earlier episode this season was genuine.
I know when they had talked to the actor before the season had started, the actor who plays Littlefinger had said that he believes that Littlefinger genuinely didn't understand Ramsay when he sent Sansa to be with him.
Right.
Like he knew probably that he was shrewd and that he was an enemy, but he didn't know how much of a monster he was.
Right.
And I think that he genuinely felt like he failed in that situation with Sansa. Do you think that's the case? Or do you think that he knew full on what was going to happen and this was part of his plans and he didn't intend for her to die, but he was fine with her being hurt?
Right. It's hard to say. With Littlefinger, it's hard to say, you know?
He's such an unpredictable character.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really interested in seeing. I wonder if we're even going to see anything from that side in the next episode, or if they're going to focus almost entirely on like the other stuff that's going on. Because remember, we got some big events going on in King's Landing next episode.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of like the big points. And then of course you have, I just don't know how much maneuvering and political talk we're going to have up in the north. But I can't wait to see. And that brings our show to an end. So thank you everybody for watching. We do this show every week. Tomorrow will be our last week because not tomorrow, next week will be the last week because it's the last episode of the season finale. But we'll be back for the next season, so don't worry about that. But in the meantime, you can also check out our podcast. We've been going over Peaky Blinders week to week. We'll be watching season 2, episode 1. We're going to be discussing that on Thursday. So if you want to catch up, the first season's only 6 episodes. So go and binge watch through that and watch right along with us as we discuss season 2, episode 1 this Thursday. The podcast will be up on Friday. If you want to send any comments, or things to talk about that episode with us, send them to the weekly set at TVEnthusiast.com. If you want to send comments for this show to talk about Game of Thrones, if you want to be featured on Ravens, go ahead and do that. Send those comments any way you can get in touch with us and we'll find them. Tweet us, leave a comment, whatever. And if you have something to bring up, we'll talk about it on the show. So thank you everybody for watching. Bye.
Bye.